everybody, welcome to the Empressive channel. I wanted to do a video revisiting Raz B's allegations against Chris Stokes and Marques Houston. Recently, I've been seeing this story circulate a lot. Now, Raz B, for those who don't know, used to be a part of the boy band B2K. And while he was in B2K, he made claims that the manager of the group, Chris Stokes, violated him as a child. And he also made the same claims about Marques Houston.
I was molested by Chris Stokes and Marques Houston, and that's the truth, period.
Now, Raz B was going to tell his story to Jason Lee from Hollywood Unlocked. However, when Jason Lee was scheduled to air the interview on Fox Soul, the interview was blocked. Marques Houston and Chris Stokes did not want that interview to be aired. And this was very, very triggering to Raz B because once again, he felt like his voice was being silenced.
Check this shit out. So I've been getting a bunch of calls from my loved ones, people that support me. And they're like, take this down, deal with this privately. But I say, yo, they've ruined me publicly. They've tried to smear my testimony, make me out to look crazy, got people looking at me sideways, got people thinking that I'm gay, and I'm not because I was molested by a pedophile. So this is how we do this. Since y'all want to try to shut me down publicly with sending out cease and desist letters, let's get in the room with the lawyers and let's take a polygraph test. I'm going to take the test, and when I take the test, you can do whatever it is that you need to do. When you take it, and when you fail, you take this fade and you take that bit. Because I'm tired of being bullied, and I'm not going to be bullied no more. Oh, yeah. And I'm doing this polygraph test for all of my fans that support me, all my family and my friends that support me, so I can move on with my career, move on with my life. Free me.
So Raz wanted to take a lie detector test, and he wanted Marques Houston and Chris Stokes to take a lie detector test too to prove that he is actually telling the truth. And I believe Raz B. I do. 2 years ago, I actually did a documentary on B2K, and I broke down their whole story. And in part 2 of the documentary, a lot was revealed, especially about the allegations Raz B made about Chris Stokes and Marques Houston. I would highly suggest that you watch this documentary to get a good idea of what happened. But just to give a brief backstory, when Raz B was a child, he moved in with Chris Stokes. Chris Stokes was actually his mother's cousin, and Raz B's mother at the time was struggling with a drug addiction. So Chris Stokes ended up getting guardianship over Raz B. And while Raz B was living with Chris Stokes, he alleges that Chris violated him. This was a dark secret that Raz B carried for years, and it was hard to say anything at the time because Chris Stokes had total control over Raz B's life. He had control over his social life, his money, and his career while he was in B2K. After B2K broke up, Raz B decided to tell his truth for the first time.
Basically, it started with Chris Stokes. Like, it started one day with Chris was like, well, let me touch it. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you're brainwashed, nigga. I don't.
Did he touch everybody, or was it just you?
You know what? I can't speak for everybody, but if you want my personal opinion, I think he did.
I want to cry right now. I feel so bad for you. And I feel bad because it was my brother that did it. You a grown man now. You know the difference between what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. Just like you, yeah, I was fucking on these niggas just like everybody else. But when I got this age, I was like, and then I wouldn't allow it to happen anymore, right? So somebody somewhere must like it. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, somebody must like it. Yeah, somebody must like it. I tell you, I didn't like it. I tell you, my ass hurt. I tell you, I don't know what happened. I can't even go back into the mind frame of where I was at because I was 11 and 12 years old.
Now, this was actually the original video that was posted of Raz B making these allegations against Chris Stokes and Marques Houston. And in this video, Raz B was actually talking to Marques Houston's father and his sister was in complete shock, as you can hear, of the allegations that Raz B was making. Not only that, there was something else that was very shocking and very incriminating. Raz B's brother Ricky was on the phone with Chris Stokes, and this was actually titled in the video. He was on the phone with Chris Stokes, and what Chris Stokes said was very, very incriminating.
I don't do that. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Fuck my work. What I'm trying to tell you is that ain't me. That was up years ago. I don't do that no more. I go sit like, I just don't do that in my life no more. That's what I'm saying. I'm a whole, you haven't been in my life. You were in my life before, Ricky. If you was around me now, you go, what? That's not my cousin.
He molested motherfucking my brother, and he molested me, nigga. Chris made me take showers with the other boys. We had to go to Capitol Records and shit. So, you know, it's like all that little shit that my brother was introduced to, that shit was brought to me first.
So what was said in some of these clips were very, very disturbing. Another one of Chris's alleged victims was Quindon Tarver. Quindon Tarver was a very talented child singer who was signed to Chris Stokes back in the 90s. And his story is also very, very sad. He too was abused while he was under Chris Stokes. And he alleged that Chris Stokes orchestrated for Marques Houston to abuse him. And mind you, both Marques and Quindon were minors at the time. And Chris Stokes would sit back on the bed and watch them. This is what Quindon allegedly said during his phone call with Raz B. And the details are just graphic and disgusting and just really, really, really heartbreaking. When the secret got out that Quindon was abused, Chris Stokes allegedly halted his career.
Dude, I used to have sex with Chris Stokes. Chris used to have me have sex with him. He wanted me to have sex with him all the time.
Well, see, I didn't have sex with him. I had sex with Marques.
And you know, and what Chris did, he sick Marques on me, and then Chris also asked me, he was like, well, can I touch it? You know what I mean? Like them niggas are really, really like that, homie.
I laid there on the floor. Chris was on the bed. Marques was right there next to me. Once he tried to penetrate me, and then I told him I was bleeding. I said, it hurt. Wow, what the fuck? It hurt, dude. It hurt. It hurt me. You put it in my booty hole, bro. And fuck me, my nigga. With Chris laying on the bed, watching with the big ass polo, teddy bear, and the big ass pillows on the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was laying out.
Are you talking about are you talking about that wooden bed Chris had, that real high wooden bed?
Yes, nigga.
Yeah, I know about that bed. Hey, on the side of that bed, on the left of it, was it that little glass jar with the change in it and the little like futon?
How do you know about that? You were younger than me, so how do you know about that?
Quindon, I'm trying to tell you, I walked through the same thing what you walked through. That first time that Marques ever put his dick in my booty was in that room too. Yeah, Chris did the same shit. Chris would try to work through the kids and work through Marques because he already got Marques at a young age, and he would work through Marques to see it. Should have said, man, you sick. You know what? This is the type of stuff that makes me upset. Chris used to have me have sex. I used to have to Chris all the time, to where it was like, man, this is like, it's not even, this shit is nasty, my nigga.
I just talked to Quindon, dude. I just talked to Quindon for the first time last night. Oh my god. Oh my god. Quindon is the same dude who went through the same shit we walked through.
So as you heard, Quindon and Raz B both were victims, and they never spoke to each other prior to this conversation. And when they spoke to each other, both of their stories were very similar, even from their details of the bedroom. This is how you know that they're not lying. Now, Quentin Tarver posted his testimony on Instagram saying how he had to overcome hurt and drug addiction and suicidal thoughts and depression and alcoholism. He had to overcome all of this through the years of hurt and pain that he was carrying within him. He also said this in his caption: "I had to endure so much, but I'm finally on the other side of the dark nights. I no longer resent the people who sabotaged me and sought after my demise. Chris Stokes and Marques Houston, you know what took place." Quentin also reposted stories about Chris Stokes and Marques Houston, and after he did that, Chris blocked him on Instagram. Quentin said, "This is my last post on this. It is the atmosphere now, and what's due shall be. Side note, I went on to see just what's being said and discovered this. If it knew it did nothing to me, why did it block me from its social media platform? #guilt." I know that's right. It sounds to me like he's definitely guilty. And it's very interesting to me that networks like BET Plus and Urban Flicks continue to work with Chris Stokes, because if you don't know, Chris Stokes has a studio called Footage Film Studios, and he produces movies exclusively for BET and Urban Flicks. And I find it interesting that with all these allegations out there, none of these networks pulled back from their relationship with Chris. And I find that to be very interesting, but Hollywood covers up the tracks of a lot of sketchy people, so I'm not surprised by that. Aside from all the sad details of this story, one thing I appreciate is the fact that Omarion and his brother Orion and also Moniece are stepping up in support of Raz B. Now, at first, Omarion wasn't as supportive of Raz B because he still had business dealings with Chris Stokes and Marques Houston. And we also have to remember that Omarion was signed to Chris Stokes when he was a child, and he was brainwashed over the years. But once he cut ties with them, he did admit that something happened to Raz B.
With the Chris Stokes allegations,
Yes.
what is your take on that?
Yeah, I definitely think something happened to him.
Omarion's brother Orion spoke out as well. He posted a picture of him and his daughter, and Chris Stokes, being the creep that he is, was under his comments dropping emojis, and Orion said, "Take the polygraphs." So he was in support of Raz B when Raz told Chris and Marques to take the lie detector test. And he also revealed that he had some issues with Chris because Chris halted his singing career.
Just because you're not a victim doesn't mean you can't speak up and, you know, say something, you know what I mean? Because this person thought they could just be on my in my comments and feel me? All in my comments and all that, you know what I mean? So, you know, like, I just had to let him know, like, yo, it is not sweet. You know, we not, you know, that experience I had with over there was not good for me. You know, I ain't get it, but, you know, my album's not to come out. And, you know what I'm saying? Sabotaging my career for some other you know? So I had a whole different, I got a whole different beef.
And Moniece also spoke out in support of Raz B. Moniece used to be a reality star on Love and Hip Hop, and she also shares a child with Fizz, and Fizz actually used to be in B2K with Raz B. So Moniece spoke out in support of Raz, and she gave him a platform to speak as well.
I have always been, I want to call it like a innocent bystander. I never wanted to be an immature. My brother wanted to be an immature. My brother had a relationship with Chris. I didn't know them. But what I did know is the first time I learned how to masturbate, I was at Chris's house. Ricky was on one side of the bed, and my cousin Tony Scott was on the other side of the bed. Why am I learning at 5 or 6 years old how to jack off at Chris Stokes' house? Right? Years down the road, before you know it, I hear stories of Ricky about to be an immature, before Marques Houston was an immature, before Imani. Imani called me on my 33rd birthday. He said, they're going to see me. Got my number randomly. So I'm just looking, I'm like, so now I'm over here living with Chris. My mom was going through what she was going through. I'm living with Chris. And before you know it, the process starts. starts with Chris, starts with Marques, so on. I don't need to name too many names. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I've always tried to be diplomatic and keep my personal business or my family business out of the media. Now, once I told my brother what had happened to me, he contacted someone. I don't want to say that person's name too, out of respect, but it was a producer's son that worked with Chris for a very long time. And long story short, they decided to upload that first video. That's like me and you chilling at the house, at your family's house, we in the back in the pool making a steak or something, and I tell you some shit, and maybe you're holding the recorder, but you run off and you have it uploaded, not knowing, thinking that it's helping a good cause, but it didn't. When that video came out, I just did a deal with Zab Judah because it was the three of us. Well, when that video came out, everybody had to push back. Now, when everybody pushed back, I tried to be cool with everybody. But when I know people are f***ing with me, trying to put me on the phone, if I really wanted to reconnect with my cousin, there's a way that needs to be done. You can't just spring that on me and tell me, hey, how do you feel about your cousin dressing you? Huh? How do I feel about my cousin dressing me for the Millennium Tour or so on and so forth?
Right.
I don't care if nobody believes me or don't nobody believe me. My truth, my testimony, how I move my life and how I move, the truth is evident. Volumes. And like I said, I'm a 35-year-old man and I want to fade. You know, whatever's coming to him for what the things that he's done, he knows. And there's so many people that are ready. You feel me? So he made his bed, he has to lie in it. In a perfect world, I would love an apology publicly. You know, but when I have people like my cousin, you know, trying to, you know, talk to other people like Eriniqua, I say her name, and they start writing stuff like I'm delusional. When I see people trying to shut down my interviews or whatever the case may be, if I want to say that Marques Houston used to fuck me in my ass, who's going to stop me from saying that? You get my point? So the Bible says, touch not the anointed one, do my prophets no harm. So don't come over here with that, because that's not it. So in a perfect world, that would be nice. If it happens, it doesn't happen. But, you know, I'm going to spend every dollar that I have to make sure that I get the justice that I feel I deserve.
I truly hope that Raz B gets the justice that he deserves. I also hope that Quentin Tarver and other victims get the justice that they deserve. Raz B is currently launching an organization called You Are the Light, and this organization focuses on Black males who have been abused as children. And I think this is a positive way for Raz to use his platform. So I'm proud of what he's doing, and I hope that he gets his justice. Anyway, tell me what you all think about this video down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you care. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.